As a matter of fact, we are 6 miles off of Venezuela. So you can swim if you want to, even though not many people do. Trinidad and Tobago has a really very rich history. Way back when, 1700, 1800, we were exchanged frequently. The Spanish, the French, the English, we were colonies. But what that did for us, it left us with a rich history. So that our Christmas is a Spanish Christmas. We have panaderos, we sing Spanish music, and it's really a beat. Our carnival was just finished in February, March this year. It's French influence. So we have words like the Marche Gras and Jouvet, the French words. And then we first of all, we were our first people, First Nation people. Our first people were First Nation people. They were called in our time Carib, and that's in the region in Trinidad and Tobago, Carib and Arawak. But they are First Nation people, right? And of course, with all the movements back and forth, a lot of them were killed. Finally, we were British. And we still are. And the British influence, I know a lot of people complain about this, having a mother country and being colonized, etc. But the British left a lot of influence in Trinidad. The language, the education system, which is superb, which is really very good, our legislature, everything, our politics, it's all British. The Westminster model, it's British.
What is it like to live with all of those different cultures? Yes,
It's a blend.
Yes.
It's a blend. So that's why I was saying carnival is a different kind of culture. Christmas is a different culture. And we all embrace it. And what the British did for us, they started cane, the planting of sugarcane. And as they planted sugarcane and couldn't get labor, they imported labor. So in our country, we have a large percentage of East Indians, about maybe 40%, large percentage of Africans, we've got Chinese, we've got Syrians, we've got Lebanese. But most important, we have a blend. They're called Douglas, and they're the fastest growing group in the country. They're in the 20s, and every year they grow by 2%, and it really speaks to what's happening in the country as different races come together to produce. At some point in time, our mixed population will, I'm sure, far outstrip the others. So that's who we are. Very cosmopolitan people, very fun-loving, very into everything, good and bad.
So that sounds like a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere in my point of view. And the intentional development, can you talk a little bit about that in terms of what that means?
Prime Minister, maybe I should start even before. Our first Prime Minister taking over from the British was Dr. Eric Williams. Dr. Eric Williams was a scholar. He was very bright. He actually went to school in Oxford in England, and he lectured at Harvard University in Washington for a long period of time before he came back home, as he said, to lay his bucket down. And he took the country from colonialism to independence. He was our first premier and then prime minister. But he was insisting that we became independent, and it did happen. We're one of the few Caribbean islands, one of the few Commonwealth countries that our country has achieved not only independence but republicanism. So that we don't, the Queen is not our chief leader. We have a president, a national, a local president. In the other Commonwealth countries, the Queen is in charge, then the Prime Minister. He's taken us one step beyond that. And that's significant for us. So that foundation was laid. As the Prime Ministers came into being, and my husband was one, he looked at the United Nations approach to development. The United Nations in the year 2000 put in place the Millennial Development Goals, the MDGs. And these goals, they identified, I think, maybe about 8 goals, saying that the countries involved in the United Nations should attempt to achieve these 8 goals.
Okay.
And the eradication of poverty, the eradication of hunger, HIV/AIDS at that point in time, universal primary education, etc., etc. 8 goals that they put in place. And 15 years down the road, they paused and they examined, and to their surprise, a lot of the issues identified, the goals were achieved. So that poverty was eradicated by a percentage. I don't remember the percentages, but because they were intentional and they were focused, this happened. And my husband, understanding that, put in place in Trinidad and Tobago, following through on that premise, what was called Vision 2020. What the United Nations did after 2015, they began to ask countries to put in place the improvement in the quality of life of the citizens.
Oh, my.
And asking countries to do that so that by the year 2020 in this assistance, that these countries would then achieve universal improvement in the standard of living. A number of countries, even countries that were not tied to the United Nations, did it. Even America did. And that's when President Obama signed the agreement on the environment.
Yes.
Because a lot of countries around the world, whether they were involved in the United Nations or not, understood that coming together to improve the quality of life of all had to be all countries.
Yes.
And a lot of them did.
Right.
So that's why when America withdrew from the environmental policy, the Paris Agreement, as they call it, there was a loud outcry because countries came to do it. Back to Trinidad, we began doing it. And, well, my husband, we lost elections, and then he died. But the government coming into being now, continued the development and put in place, because there was a lapse, put in place Vision 2030. A number of countries around the world have been targeting the development of their countries by the year 2030, by the year 2040. And one country seems to be on target, and that's Malaysia. By the year 2020, hopefully, Malaysia would have achieved the goals.
Yeah.
So there's a worldwide movement to development, to improve quality of life around the world. Trinidad is part of that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Exciting.
Yes.
It is really full of energy and excitement. Let us move forward together.
Yeah.
So be a bit of competition, especially the Caribbean. Jamaica is there, Trinidad, the Bahamas is there. They're all on this path. So there's really something to it.
Well, I can see the excitement on your face, and I can hear it in your voice.
And the John Maxwell program guides. It really comes home all the time because it talks to intentional living, having your vision, having your goals, and achieving that. So there's a vision in Trinidad, we have the goals, and we're working towards it. Sometimes slowly, not fast enough, but at least it's there.
It's there, yeah. And so can you talk a little bit about your work in the education arena as Minister of Education, Hazel, and your current work now with the John Maxwell team?
Because it all ties in. And the education arena, that's about 10 years ago. That's how long it was.
Yes.
About 10 years ago. I think your minister, your Secretary of State was Secretary Spelling at that time because I met her. And we had a vision to create our children to be young adults who can take his or her place on the world stage. That was our vision for our children, that they become global citizens and confident enough and skilled enough and trained enough to take their place on the world stage. And therefore we had to change the curriculum, adjust, put in the IT curriculum and the general, make some subjects compulsory. Culture became compulsory, music and dance and physical education became compulsory. IT became compulsory, vocational technology. Those subjects became platforms to take off. So that is what the education. And we did achieve a lot. Our graduation rate increased slowly, but there was a path and things were moving forward. And they still are. Now fast forward all these years, the development of my company is called the Leadership Firm. And almost the same thing we are doing. We have started to develop strategic plans. We go into an organization, whether it's government, whether it's private, whether it's quasi, we go into an organization and we say to the leaders, we are here to help you with your strategic plan. Don't hire us. If you're hiring us for 2-3 months to write the strategic plan, we're not here to write strategic plans only. We are here, more importantly, for the implementation of your plan. So when an organization hires us, we go in with them and we begin the writing. And we write it by doing team coaching. We all together, we ask questions. And we get answers, and we pull that together. And in that approach, when the plan is released, we give it back to them their plan. This is what you said to us, and we just documented it. And then we begin the implementation of that. So, we start. What's your vision? What's your mission? We are now with a church for this our 4th year with our church. Vision. Mission, and then we begin. And then we begin with this action plan. After the implementation plan, the action. So we start the leadership process down the line into the parishes and into the actual churches. And every parish and every church has to do an action plan. And in producing that action plan, we begin moving. I remember in this same church, basically the vision was to increase its numbers and make the parishioners, or the member of the congregation, to make them it's called vineyard, make them Christian brothers, loving and caring, and the values of beautiful loyalty, love, care, lovely values, really well thought through, and by all the clergy, etc. And in this particular church, we about 3 years into the program, we went to one of the country churches. Young guy, young priest, I don't even think he's in his 40s, and he's got a rat, that long hair, and he was dynamic, and he had a service, and wow, it was with drums and young ones dancing and singing. And so I said to him, I am Father Charles, I am so impressed with what's happening here. And he said to me, we've moved from a congregation of 11 to 120.
Oh, my.
And I'm like, wow. He says, I'm in charge of a parish. And there were 5 churches of parish. He says, and every one of the churches done the same. So that there's a model put in place, there's that excitement, that growth, and they're out there touching. And this is where I feel that this is where I should be, just holding hands and moving forward.
Who knew that God was preparing you all along, right, for the work that you're doing now?
I feel it, and I knew it. And I'm really very passionate about it.
Well, I love how you talk about when you work with an organization that you are really clear that you're there for the long haul. You're not just in there for a hot minute, right?
I got that from Maxwell. I got that from when John had one of his sessions from off the stage, where he said that change doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. So you can't go in there and expect it to happen overnight. It took so long to get it there.
To get here. That's right.
It's going to take you long to get to this. But 2-3 years is good, because in this instance you see the difference. And when I do the disc analysis now, when I do, you see the difference almost immediately. When I do the coaching and they come in down and a little depressed. I mean, in a matter of 2-3 sessions, you hear them say, this is so different. Again, I go back to my low S, and that's one of the things they say about that. That they're naturally pastoral, naturally coaches, and I didn't know that. I'm just now understanding that.
So tell us more about DISC, because my listeners may not fully understand what that is. So can you walk us through that a little bit?
Personal development tool. It's scientific, very scientific. It's designed by psychologists and psychiatrists, and it's put together in a particular way over history, years of a history that pulls human behavioral scientists looking at us, looking at people over the years, coming to some conclusions about people. And then they begin testing you, asking you questions. And as you answer the